everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit today about volunteer plants. But before I get into that, I was asked by a viewer if I would give my opinion on which trellis that we did was the best. So here's a little update on that. As you can see, I've already cleared out all of the peas. The ones that we did not harvest to eat are now drying over under the grape arbor. So which one did best? I really don't think it's fair to give an accurate comparison and just say this one was the best. And here's why. The sugar snap peas that were growing on the round field fence trellis did a great job. They grew up and above the trellis that we provided for them, but none of the lettuce that we intentionally planted on the inside grew. And I think that was more of a problem on our side than a problem with the companion planting. I don't think that either the seed wasn't viable anymore or we didn't plant very well, and so that lettuce never grew. The only lettuce that ever grew out of that area is a Simpson black seeded lettuce that's probably just a volunteer from last year. So it's hard to say whether that was a success or a failure on that particular point. What I will say is that we had no problem harvesting the peas, and I think that if the lettuce had grown from the lettuce that we see working over here under the A-frame trellis, that it would have done what we wanted. The lettuce would have had time to head and be harvested now that we have removed that trellis, as everything else is just starting to go to seed. So I think that the companion planting would have worked if the lettuce had decided to actually germinate. The teepee trellis that we did with the tall telephone peas also worked out great. The one thing that we learned from it is that we need to provide more supports, more horizontal strings going around the trellis, and that the horizontal strings need to go all the way to the top. About a week ago, we had some strong storms, and the trellis itself didn't budge an inch. But the peas that grew above where we had stopped putting horizontal supports blew forward, making a mess of a pea harvesting attempt. There was no way to recover those back up to where they needed to be. We just had to leave them falling over until we were ready to cut them out. The only problem that we had with the A-frame trellis is that the little marvel pea that we planted only grows about 2 foot tall. It is a bush type, meaning it's not supposed to have support, but I was hoping that by providing it support, it would decide to grow. It never did. It never got above that 2 foot mark. So again, it's hard to judge just how well that was because of the variety that we grew. What shade those 2 foot plants did provide, I believe gave some good growing environment to the lettuce that we put in there. Because as you can tell, this is a full sun area and lettuce actually prefers shade. So I believe it was a good method. None of them provided us any difficulty in harvesting. None of them fell over or just did not work. And I think that we can continue with whichever method would be more convenient to your space. So let's talk about volunteer plants.